I stood in the doorway of my 7-year-old daughter Lily's bedroom, my hands shaking as I watched my own sister rip down her fairy lights and pack her toys into cardboard boxes. "What are you doing?" I gasped, still exhausted from a grueling 16-hour double shift at the hospital. My mother stepped forward, folding her arms with a cold, smug smile. "We voted, Clara. You're outnumbered, so you don't get a say. Amanda needs this space for her new beauty studio, and Lily can sleep on the living room couch." My sister didn't even look up. She just laughed, treating my daughter's room like a conquered territory. They thought they had backed me into a corner because they were a united front. They thought family politics trumped everything. I took a deep, steady breath, looked them both dead in the eye, and smiled. Because there was one tiny detail they had completely forgotten. I didn't just rent a couple of rooms to them. I owned the entire house. My name is Clara. I'm 26 years old, and for the last few years, my entire world has revolved around two things: my job as a pediatric nurse and my beautiful 7-year-old daughter, Lily. Being a single mother means you don't get the luxury of being tired. You just keep moving forward, no matter how heavy your feet feel. 3 years ago, through sheer grit, aggressive saving, and a small inheritance from my late grandmother, I managed to buy a beautiful 4-bedroom suburban home. Knowing how toxic and competitive my family could be, I decided to keep a major detail to myself. I didn't tell them I bought it. Instead, I let them believe I was just taking over a long-term lease from a private landlord. When my parents fell into financial trouble last year, and my sister Amanda's retail job completely dried up, my toxic family begged me for help. Out of a misplaced sense of family obligation, I made a deal. I allowed my mother, my enabling father, and Amanda to move into 3 of my spare bedrooms. The rules were incredibly strict. They had to pay a small, fixed share of the utilities, and they had to respect boundaries. Above all, Lily's bedroom was her sacred space. For months, they played the part of grateful guests, but slowly, their true, entitled colors began to bleed through. They truly believed they were the ones running the household, completely unaware that they were living under my roof strictly on my generosity. It was exactly 7:15 in the morning when I finally unlocked the front door. My eyes burning and my shoulders aching from a brutal 16-hour double shift at the hospital. All I wanted was to hug Lily, crawl into bed, and sleep for 1,000 years. But the moment I stepped into the hallway, the heavy silence of the house was broken by the sound of dragging furniture and the sharp crinkle of plastic packing tape coming from upstairs. My stomach dropped. I rushed up the stairs, following the noise straight to my daughter's bedroom. What I saw made my blood boil. The beautiful fairy lights we'd spent hours hanging together were ripped from the drywall, crumpled into a messy pile on the floor. Lily's favorite books, her clothes, and her handmade drawings were being carelessly stuffed into heavy cardboard boxes. Amanda was in the center of the room, aggressively pushing Lily's white canopy bed toward the closet like it was trash. "What on earth do you think you're doing?" I gasped, my voice shaking with a mixture of exhaustion and rising fury. Amanda didn't even look up. She just kept taping a box shut, treating my daughter's room like a conquered territory. Before she could answer, my mother stepped out from behind the door, folding her arms across her chest with a cold, incredibly smug smile. "Ah, Clara, you're finally home," she said, her voice dripping with artificial authority. "We held a family meeting last night while you were working. We voted, Clara. It was 3-1. You're completely outnumbered, so you don't get a say in this anymore." "Voted on what?" I slammed my nurse's bag onto a packing box, staring at her in absolute disbelief. "Amanda is launching her new social media beauty influencer studio, and she needs a room with the absolute best morning sunlight," my mother explained casually, as if she were talking about rearranging a spice rack. "Lily is just a kid. She doesn't need all this space. We've decided she can sleep on the living room couch from now on. It's what's best for the family business. I stood there, my mind spinning. Before I tell you how I handled this utter madness, I want to take a quick second to ask you, what city are you watching this story from today? Comment down below so I can see just how far our community reaches. And tell me, have you ever had to deal with family members who have absolutely zero concept of basic boundaries? Because what my family did next made me realize that keeping my secret was about to become my greatest weapon. I didn't answer my mother right away. Instead, I turned on my heel and walked down the hallway to the living room. There, huddled in the corner of the worn velvet armchair, was Lily. She was crying quietly, her little arms wrapped tightly around her favorite stuffed rabbit. Her eyes were red, and she looked so incredibly small. "Mommy," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Aunt Amanda said my room isn't mine anymore. She told me I have to live out here." Hearing those words broke something inside me, but it also replaced my exhaustion with a terrifying, icy clarity. I knelt down, kissed her forehead, and whispered, "Hey, look at me. Nobody is taking your room. I promise you. Go sit in the kitchen and have some breakfast, okay? Let Mommy handle this." I walked into the kitchen, where my father was calmly reading the news, completely unbothered by the fact that his granddaughter had just been evicted from her own bed. My mother and Amanda strutted in right behind me, looking like a victorious army. "You need to stop being so dramatic, Clara," my father said without even looking up. "Amanda needs to make a living. Support your sister for once. It's a democracy here, and you lost the vote." I looked at the three of them, my parents, who I had saved from financial ruin, and my sister, who hadn't paid a single dime toward utilities in 3 months. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just leaned against the counter, looked them dead in the eye, and smiled. "You have exactly 48 hours to put every single item back in Lily's room exactly where it belongs," I said, my voice dangerously calm. "If you don't, you will regret it deeply." Amanda laughed out loud, and my mother rolled her eyes. They truly believed their little majority vote made them invincible. They had absolutely no idea what was coming. The next morning, the house was filled with an eerie, tense quiet. Amanda and my mother were whispering in the hallway, convinced I was upstairs hiding away in my grief and defeat. But they didn't realize that the old baby monitor we used when Lily was a toddler was still plugged in near the hallway table. I sat quietly in my bedroom, pressing the receiver to my ear, listening to every single word of their secret plot. "She's not going to do anything," Amanda scoffed, her voice dripping with malice. "Clara is way too soft to ever fight back against her own blood. Once I get my studio set up, we'll vote to move her and Lily down into the basement room permanently. That way, we can use the master bedroom for a guest lounge." My mother laughed, fully agreeing with the plan. "Exactly. We'll completely take over the property by winter. She owes us for everything we did for her growing up." Hearing them casually plot to erase my daughter and me from our own home was the final straw. They had mistaken my kindness for absolute weakness, and they genuinely believed their numbers gave them total power. I quietly closed the monitor, pulled out my phone, and called my real estate attorney, Marcus. "Marcus, it's Clara," I said, my voice steady and cold. "Remember those emergency eviction clauses and property deeds we discussed when my family moved in? I need you to draft the paperwork immediately. It's time to initiate a total lockdown." By the time I hung up, the trap was set. My family thought they were playing a game of house politics, but they were actually dealing with a very calculated legal reality. 2 days later, the 48-hour deadline I had given them expired. Amanda hadn't moved a single box back. In fact, she had officially set up her ring lights and makeup vanities directly over the spot where Lily's canopy bed used to sit. At exactly 6 o'clock in the evening, I walked into the dining room and called an official family meeting. Amanda strode in first, followed by my mother and father. Amanda slouched into a chair, looking incredibly smug, clearly assuming I was finally about to apologize, accept defeat, and surrender to their household hierarchy. "Look, Clara," my father started, crossing his arms. "If this is about Lily's room again, the discussion is completely over. The family has spoken." I didn't say a single word. Instead, I opened my leather folder, reached inside, and slid a thick stack of formal legal documents directly across the polished mahogany table. Amanda picked them up casually, flipping through the pages with a bored expression that quickly morphed into utter confusion. "What is this junk?" she muttered, her voice faltering as her eyes scanned the bold lettering. "Those are official, court-certified eviction notices," I said, leaning forward. My mother snatched the papers from Amanda's hands, her face rapidly draining of all color as she reached the final page. There, attached to the notices, was the certified deed to the property, boldly displaying my name as the sole, absolute owner of the house. "You see," I continued, watching their jaws literally drop, "you've spent months whining about the private landlord I had to pay utilities to. Well, congratulations. You are looking at her. I own this entire house, and your little democracy just collapsed." Complete, absolute panic erupted in the dining room the second the truth finally sank in. Amanda slammed her hands onto the table, jumping to her feet as her face turned a deep, furious shade of red. "You lied to us!" she screamed, her voice cracking with pure rage. "You're a selfish monster, Clara. How could you trick your own family like this?" My mother instantly dissolved into a wave of heavy, synthetic tears, gripping her chest theatrically. "After everything we sacrificed to raise you, this is how you repay us? Throwing your own flesh and blood out onto the streets? Where is your sense of family loyalty?" My father, completely dropping his smug, authoritative attitude, desperately tried to negotiate. "Clara, let's just be reasonable here," he stammered, his hands shaking as he pointed at the paperwork. "We can work this out. Amanda will move her things out of Lily's room tonight. We can reset the vote. There's no need to take things to this extreme." I stood up slowly, looking at the three of them without a single ounce of sympathy. "The time for being reasonable ended the moment you evicted a 7-year-old child from her bedroom while her mother was working a double shift at the hospital," I said, my voice cutting through their noise like ice. "Because you violated our explicit household agreement and caused severe emotional distress to my daughter, this eviction is absolutely non-negotiable. You have exactly 30 days to pack up every single piece of your belongings and find a new place to live. And as of right now, Amanda's studio equipment is banned from ever crossing my threshold again." 3 months have passed since that evening, and the silence in my home is finally beautiful again. Lily and I have the entire house back to ourselves, completely peaceful and filled with genuine joy. Lily's bedroom has been completely restored, and with the help of a little paint and some new fairy lights, it's bigger, brighter, and better than it ever was before. As for my family, reality hit them incredibly hard. Without my income to leech off of, their grand illusions completely shattered. Amanda was forced to move into a tiny, overpriced studio apartment that she can barely afford on her irregular internet income, and my parents had to downsize significantly to a small rental on the outskirts of town. Standing up for my daughter didn't just protect her childhood, it taught me my own true value. I finally learned that you cannot use the word family as a shield to justify cruelty and entitlement. Now, I'm deeply curious about all of you who have followed my journey to the very end. What would you have done if you were standing in my shoes? Would you have given them a second chance? Or would you have dropped the hammer just like I did? Comment your thoughts down below. I read as many as I can. And meanwhile, I'm leaving 2 other incredible revenge stories right here on the end screen that are absolute channel favorites. They will definitely surprise you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.